Peace in from the black holes of Dakota Territory, United States of Advertising. Stan Gibilisco here. I'm just going to keep on a little bit with this cannabis series because it seems like a lot of people, and a lot of people who are into electronics and ham radio, such as myself, are interested in this. It seems out of proportion. I'm going to reiterate that I do not use cannabis for two reasons. Number one, I have a hard enough time getting the equations in my work straight and my writing to make sense without any drugs at all. But I know that cannabis will screw up my cognitive abilities in that respect. I know it because I experienced it when I smoked cannabis in college in 1976. Where it was actually decriminalized at the University of Minnesota, and in all of Minnesota. You could smoke cannabis and just get a ticket if they caught you. Although one of our fraternity alumni was a cop, and he never gave us any tickets. But the point of all of this, it's kind of fun to go on these little mind journeys, and I'm sure that cannabis makes it a lot easier to do that. The other reason that I don't use cannabis is because I live here in South Dakota and I don't plan on moving. In fact, right now I'm probably just too physically ill to do it, but I see no reason to move. I like my house, I like my town just fine, I like the black holes. I don't see any reason to move. And at least cannabis is not enough of a reason right now, although I suppose that could change if cannabis were made legal by the federal government and I developed some kind of pain. One thing I noticed about cannabis when I was in college was that I didn't have any withdrawal symptoms from it. When I left college, I moved out to Connecticut where cannabis was illegal, but I didn't use it there, and I hadn't used it. I don't believe I've ever used it except maybe once in the ensuing almost 40 years. And I don't really miss it either. It's easy to get stoned. In my own head, I have a THC gland that manufactures the stuff for me, so I can just call on that and be stoned out of my mind in about 5 minutes. I don't need the help of it. But more seriously, I'd like you to just dream with me for a minute and suppose that the federal government did legalize cannabis and made it just like alcohol. Now, here in South Dakota, if you walk in the grocery store, you'll find hard liquor. In some states you'll find that, in some states you won't. But some people come here and find it rather bizarre that they can get tequila in the grocery store right next to the checkout counter. There's several rows of the stuff, vodka, scotch, anything you want. As a recovering alcoholic, I won't touch that any more than I touch turpentine to put in my body. However, suppose cannabis were made like that. Do you suppose they'd have head shops in the grocery store? I mean, they'd have a selection of bongs, and then they'd have a selection of weed. They'd have little bags and all this sort of stuff. And you'd get used to that, and it would become accepted. And there are plenty of arguments to legalize that stuff. It would take away the whole racket around the criminalization of it. Which is about as successful as Prohibition was almost 100 years ago. In other words, not successful at all. All it really does is create a lot of misery for a lot of people and a lot of money for a very few people. And it's those very few powerful people that call the shots, even all the way up to the federal government level here in the United States of, I don't know, is there a word for insanity that begins with A? Asanity. Without sanity. So I would say, and I'm not going to say I favor the legalization of the stuff, nor am I going to say I'm against that. But I just like you to dream what it would be like I mean, you've got you're walking along this strip mall there, and there's a stationery store, and there's a sporting goods store, and there's a shoe store, and a place to get your hair cut, maybe an urgent care center, and a place for kids' toys, and a place for Western wear, and there's a head shop, and there's another place a little ways down the strip mall where you can get the weed, or maybe they sell the weed right in the head shop. Stuff to roll your own joints with and all this. If things keep up like this, I'm going to end up somewhere in some undisclosed location getting stoned with a bunch of you guys. No, more seriously, I have enough trouble keeping my mind together to do my work while straight. And this clonazepam prescription med that I'm on is just as bad, if not worse, than pot in terms of getting my mind all screwed up. And it has horrible withdrawal. Research it on the internet. Research benzodiazepine withdrawal on the internet. My doctor and I got me into a whole hell of a lot of trouble when we tried to relieve a few jitters. It's sort of like shooting a sparrow with a rocket launcher. Oh, it works, but not very well. Pot would probably work better, to tell you the truth, but it's illegal here in South Dakota. You go to jail for that, and it's not worth the risk. It'd be fun to get stoned now and then, but not that much fun. So that is my take on that for the time being. But, you go into Nevada, like in Carson City, you walk into the grocery store and there's gambling, right? As soon as you get in, you hear these ding, 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 ding. There's gambling going on. People are sitting at slot machines in the grocery store. Most people find that kind of weird for a little while, but I moved there, and after a while, it just got to be normal stuff. And I suppose having seen head shops and weed shops and all that kind of stuff, we'd get used to that too. But you'll never see it. I don't think I'll see it in my lifetime, and I don't think you'll see it in yours either, because there are entrenched interests. I don't even really know who they are for sure, but there are entrenched interests that profit from the illegality of that substance to an enormous degree, and they're not about to give up that profit. Such is life in the United States of abomination. No, that's too mean. That's too mean. Stan Jabalisco signing off. Until next little mind rant, little mind journey, little bubble bath with Einstein, I will say peace out and so long.